Women working in television have got many stories to tell. The most exciting ones certainly are about their own professional careers. It is at the tense interface of the workplace, politics and personal vanity where battles over jobs are fought most intensely, and not always in a very elegant manner. More than 2,500 women have nevertheless chosen ORF, the only nationwide TV broadcaster in Austria, as their employer. This is also because most recently a big change has taken place. ORF has changed its appearance and now presents itself with a female face. Even at the higher levels of the television station. Annette Scheiner is a journalist and news presenter. A short while ago, she was appointed head of the foreign news desk of the Current Affairs Department. This is still an unusual position for a woman in ORF. After all, Annette not only edits and presents news, but she's also involved in deciding which news items are broadcast and which are not.
I don't think it could have happened 10 years ago. Yes, we did have a few women in the Current Affairs Department at that time, but none of them would ever have had a realistic chance of getting this job, simply because at that time the management was still in the hands of another generation, and the old boys' network was still functioning. It is, of course, a question of time, and I think we are currently going through a phase of change, with the old structures gradually breaking up. I have also noticed the change in our management meetings. More and more women are getting a chance of being heard in them. Even though many of our male executives sometimes still regard them as token women, they know they can't manage a modern business without letting women move up to a certain level in the hierarchy.
Video editor Ria Mayhart is anything but a token woman. She's an institution in ORF. She looks back on 25 years of experience in film and television. It takes the heart of a nurse and the determination of an animal tamer to work with colleagues under stress in the tricky job of editing news footage. Very often men do not have enough patience for that. This is why she is confident about the role of women in ORF.
It is a matter of personal attitude. If I stress the fact that I am a woman among men, I'm going to have a problem. If, however, I am like one of them, doing my job, gender won't be an issue. This is a fundamental attitude. And I think that in the long process of female emancipation, women must have been thinking not only about equal opportunities, but also about their own identity and their own value. Otherwise, emancipation would have missed its purpose. If some women, at least, had not become aware that their value as human beings is in no way inferior to that of men. This is not a question of being a man or a woman. It is a question of conviction, of knowing who I am.
The stories of women in television are extremely varied. A lot depends on the women themselves, their mental and physical stamina, the environment encountered at the job, the goals they hope to reach, the way they cope with disappointments and success, and the honesty with which they look back on their own ups and downs. One thing they all have in common, the encounter with television has changed their lives. This is true in particular of those who are regular on-screen presenters. This is a face well known to every Austrian. The face is seen in the late-night news, a programme watched by about 1 million Austrians every evening. It belongs to Ingrid Turner. She is what Americans call an anchor woman, the heart of the programme. For 14 years, she has been a regular presenter on TV. This is a job which demands an enormous amount of discipline and commitment. Yet the 37-year-old journalist does not want to be perceived as a superwoman. Ingrid, are you a superwoman?
Well, I find the word superwoman rather confusing. It seems to imply that it takes greater strength and power for a woman to do the same job as a man. It's true that this is a very demanding job. It's a demanding job for both men and women alike. But it doesn't make you a superwoman, even if viewers tend to think that women like to be seen that way.
What would you call yourself?
I'm a journalist. The only thing that distinguishes me from my colleagues in the current affairs department is the fact that I have to have makeup put on before the broadcast starts to comply with the rules of live presentation on TV. Apart from that, there is very little difference between me and them.
Some people would disagree. Ingrid Turner has made it to the top. Like this young woman, who cannot wait to get back to her desk after 16 weeks of parental leave. Katrin Zechner holds the highest ranking position ever achieved by a woman in ORF. She is Director of Programmes and presides over an empire with a staff of 300 people and a budget of 1.5 billion Austrian shillings. She says she was extremely lucky to get this job, an opportunity which many women may have refused, out of fear of the responsibility involved and of the failures and mishaps that are bound to occur in a job like this.
If
I do make a mistake, having to admit in one's heart of hearts that it really was my fault, this is extremely painful. Sometimes I do have self-doubt. I can say that quite frankly, because there have been moments when I thought I was good for nothing. But fortunately, I have a small group of good friends. I've had them for many years, who keep motivating me and telling me that I'm not doing so badly after all. And they remind me of past successes. At the same time, they also bring me down to earth when I'm too full of enthusiasm and feeling on top of the world. Then we sit down together and get our feet back on the ground. Coping with failure? Well, I found my own way, which I can only recommend to all women, because women tend to be tormented by doubt. If you can convince yourself that every mistake and every setback adds to the learning process, that it is a positive contribution to an exciting development, which is not merely a professional career, but life as a whole, then you learn how to cope with failure more easily.
In the past, women, unlike men, used to concentrate entirely on the job at hand and forget about long-term career strategies. Nowadays, women want both, a job they enjoy and career prospects. And this goes for all women, from the producer to the fashion advisor. This is a new face in the history of the medium, a female face.